There might be a couple more coming. But don't leave right when I finish. Give me a second to screenshot the two or three of you who are actually there, so I can throw you a bonus point on the quiz tomorrow. Um, yeah. Okay. So we're gonna take the quiz tomorrow on numbers. It's gonna be 10 numbers from between 1 and 20. I'll talk more about that in a second. I'll post it in the morning, and once you take that, you'll be done with Latin for almost the month. I guess we technically come back for the last 2 or 3 days of the month before April. But anyway, I want to check the sentence real quick before we move on. From the quiz, I think you guys all translated it. A couple people, mostly younger, probably didn't translate it because I think I forgot to press the enter key and there wasn't a ton of space, but still said to translate it. The verbs are both perfect tense. We got to review tense a little more. A lot of people are still getting that wrong. And then a lot of people didn't circle one of the ablatives. It was weird. But these were both ablatives of means. We got 3 ablative types last chapter, but ablative of means is the one you really want to understand because there's actually a trick to translating it. If we didn't know this trick, we would just think it's like the doctor himself said the whole truth, comma, his own mouth, and we wouldn't be able to like connect that to the rest of the sentence. So you got to add with his own mouth. It's like this default preposition, but there isn't actually cum there, cum there. Um, Anyway, yeah, and guys, please feel free to interrupt or ask any questions at any point. Otherwise, I'm kind of rambling. This is the one I'm recording to upload for people who can't make it to any of the streams. Quote unquote, can't make it. Am I right? No, I'm just kidding. I know things come up. But okay, so now we have a new ablative type this chapter. It's not just means. Accompaniment manner, it's good to know those terms, but it's not super important because the cum preposition shows up in those two. It doesn't show up in means because it's a mean ablative. And now we have ablative of time when. So this will be a noun that's describing a period of time. And we only have a couple words for this. Tempus, so it'll be tempora in the ablative. Aura, it'll have a macron over the A, or like auris if it's hours. We don't have those next two. I should have put honest for year. Those are basically the only words we have that describe time. Tempus for time, aura, hour, and honest for year. And you're gonna have to add in, within, at, or own based on what would sound best. So if it's an hour, it'd be like in an hour, maybe like in 1 hour, depending on what the sentence is. But if it's time, you'd want to use at that time. So that might sound complicated, but just like figure out what actually sounds correct as far as like the expectations for good English grammar go. We'll worry about these vocab words more once we come back from spring break. We're focusing on these numbers. In my mind, these numbers are really easy, but we'll see how the quiz goes tomorrow. Don't cheat, but everyone should know all of these numbers are spelled out on page 500. It's a very easy page number to remember. 500 gives you like all the numbers, but y'all just need to know 1 through 20. So, and I want y'all to understand the difference between cardinal and ordinal. I know that sounds like jargon, but it's just that cardinal is like 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. And ordinal is like first, second, third, and it expresses something about the order of something. And I will put 1 Roman numeral. So make sure you understand Roman numeral concepts. I think most people are fine with them. But the I means 1, and then you just add more I's to keep adding up. And I'll talk more about it when we get to 4. But duo is the cardinal. 2 secundus is second. Couldn't get easier. Tre is 3. Tertius is third. I should say these ordinals on the right actually all can get any kind of ending they need, adjective style, right? So I should be spelling all of them out as like quartus, quarta, quartum, tertius, tertia, tertium. I guess I was kind of lazy or something. But quatuor is a cardinal 4, whereas quartus is ordinal 4th. And this is one of the Roman numerals that's a little weird because instead of doing I for 4, it's you put a smaller numeral in front of a larger one to subtract from that larger one. So if V equals 5, then IV is 1 from 5. It's 4. It's easier to write that than 4 I's. Whereas just V is quinque is 5. Quintus, quinta, quintum is 5th. VI is 6. So yeah, like this is 6 versus this being 4. I hope that makes sense. The other one that's a little weird is 9, IX instead of, because the alternative would be V and then 4 I's. So Romans wanted to avoid doing 4 I's. Octo, the cardinal 8. Octavus is 8th. Did I misspelled? Yeah, I did. Did I? How do you spell eighth? I don't know. Novum is 9. Nodus is ninth. Decim 10. Decimos is 10th. But yeah, I'll type out all their endings like I do for Quintus and Quartus here if they show up on the quiz, and if they're ordinal. Okay, we're going to get to the homework in a second, I promise, but look at these bottom three. The Ginty is the only number out of the first 20 that doesn't have any relationship to any or relation rather to any word or root in English. So to me, it's the only hard one. 11 through 17 especially, really easy, right? Undecim, it's like unus plus decim, so it's 11. But 18 is a little weird. Duodeviginti. Think of it as 2 from 20, as in like 20 minus 2. So it's not 22. I think there's a real temptation. 22 would just be viginti et duo, or duo et viginti. Or you don't even need the et actually. But and then unde viginti is like 1 from 20. So one of those is going to show up on the quiz tomorrow. All right. Please stop me if y'all have questions, but I'm just going to kind of go through these. Ili, quinque, femini is really straightforward. So it's something about women, but how many? It's quinque, and is it those or these? It's going to be those 5 women. So yeah, that's how numbers often work in the context of a Latin sentence, and by that I mean like very simply, right? Like it's really straightforward. Quinque, any number after 3, it doesn't change forms at all. So you just kind of use common sense and see what it's next to. Now there is number 5 is awful, and you can't really. It's not as simple as that, but it's really rare that it gets more complicated than this. So those 5 women, what do? Non timebont. From timeo to Mary, it's imperfect tense, because those 5 women were not fearing, and death, actually, I'm skipping the middle part on purpose. Mortem, it turns out, must be our direct object. We're not fearing is the best way to do imperfect here. You could say did not fear, but that's a little more perfect tense. So, okay, you might have thought they were not fearing animals. Animalia is also accusative, but it looks like Animalia is going to be the object of inter. So inter is usually between, but between is awkward here. So we're going to go with among. So they were not fearing death among those or these animals. Aya is doing that annoying thing that I'll talk about more when we get to number 5. It's from is, aya, id, she, he, it, or he, she, it. But sometimes those pronouns, they just, when they're functioning kind of like an adjective, as it is here, where it has a noun buddy, it's just going to be this or that, and you get to pick. It's kind of like an article. We talk about how Latin doesn't have articles, but
Mr. Talana,
it does. Yeah.
do you want us to send you a picture of our homework?
Yes. Yeah. So the assignment's up. You should be able to use the assignment to submit it. And or like if you have issues with that, you can message it to me, but I prefer you try to submit it through the assignment. And whatever, whether it's a picture of your work or like you type it up on a Word document, either way, you're technically probably supposed to do that. I guess it does say due tonight, but whatever. So yeah, let me know if you have any issues with that. All right, number 3 or 2. It's just 2. Okay, duo ex filiis. What could that be? Something about sons. This is not daughters. That'd be filiabus. Filia, daughter, gets almost like a third declension style ablative and dative. But so it's going to be not 2 from out of these sons. Previously, X for us has been like more like from or from out of. Real quick, I'm going to check to see. I feel like every time I stream, someone's like, "Oh, I can't get into the thing." Okay, but okay. So when this happens a lot, where X is going to be between a number and an ablative, so a number to its left and an ablative to its right. The term for this is an ablative with a cardinal number. It's a super creative term. I don't need you to really know that, but know that you can just translate X as of here, is what I'm trying to say. So 2 of the sons definitely sounds better than 2 from out of the sons. That's super awkward. They were running. Why is that thing there? They were running. Currebont is this newer verb that means to run. We get like current and course from it. but it's imperfect like the last verb, so were running's good. Ran is okay. And then we have 3 prepositional phrases in the middle here. They were running a porta. A is short for ob, a new preposition that means from. It's our third and final from. Oh my gosh. Ex, day, and ob all mean from. So 2 of the sons were running from a gate through the fields per agros, cum patre suo, with their own father yesterday. It's a whopping 3 prepositional phrases. I'll put boxes around them, I think, in the next slide. So X takes an ablative, no, I'm sorry, a or ob takes an ablative, per takes an accusative, and cum takes an ablative. That's technically an ablative of accompaniment because suo patre, their own dad, is like a person, so it's accompaniment. And we're going to use their, sua, sua, sum, his, her, its own. But we're going to use their own because it's 2 people. It's 2 of the sons. And what else? Kikitarunt is this crazy perfect tense form of kado, kadara, to fall. So fell is best. I think has fallen, or they have fallen is a little weird. So what else did they do? They fell into the water. And that's our 4th and final prepositional phrase there. It's crazy. It's going to be into the water because aquam is accusative. It'd be in the water only if it was ablative with a macron of the A. All right. This one's good, and then the last one I do not like, but this one. The first king, right, primus rex, something about riches or wealth, but that looks to me like maybe a direct object, so our first verb is yekit. That must be new. Yakio, iakara, yeki is to throw. Kind of a weird word. If you think of that I as J, that might help you remember, at least the third principal part when it's perfect tense, think of words like eject or project. I'm not sure if that would help, but it means to throw. So the first king in its perfect tense, the E is kind of the indicator there. It's not IACIO. The first king threw. So he threw or has thrown riches into the sea. So just like in aquam, last sentence was into the water. This is into the sea. Mare is weirdly accusative. It could be nominative, but it's a neuter noun, so it reuses its nominative form for its accusative. For, nom is just like for, something about great anger, but that looks direct objecty to me, so we must be keeping our same subject. So the first king, what else did the first king do? The verb at the end, temeo, temeri, is to fear. Temui, though, would be perfect, temuit, here, third singular, perfect. He feared, for he feared what? The great anger and the force or the strength of the crowd or mob. Them is weird. Them might have thrown you off pretty hard if you didn't Wiktionary it. It's from a super irregular I stem that we got last chapter, I stem noun. Vis, that means power or strength. Doesn't even have a genitive or a dative, and it has a kind of weird accusative. It's not like em like most their declension accusatives. But anyway, that's what it means. My messages are blowing up. And then turbi is genitive. It's the strength of the crowd. The Roman mob is truly a force to be reckoned with. Okay, no, this is number 4. This one's fine. The last one is the bad one. Okay, no one. Vinco vincere means to conquer, but because it's a third conjugation verb, that E is indicating it's not actually present tense. It's actually future. We'll never forgive third and fourth conjugation verbs for being too good to use bo bis bit. They get that E showing up for their future tense. So no one will conquer. Eondim is this weird adjective from edim, eadim, idim. That means the same. It's a bad adjective because the first part of it changes instead of the second part, which is like so weird for an adjective. But no one, oh gosh. Oh no. Ooh. Okay, at least I'm fixing it for the recording. Yikes. And there's no like translation quiz tomorrow? Weird. All day I've been like talking about it being future tense, but not noticing that I translated it like past. Weird. Maybe I thought it was perfect, but that would be with an IT and a long I here. Okay, no one will conquer, the same part of Asia. And then we have, so Asia's genitive, it's the same part of Asia, right? And then we have this phrase 1 year just floating there. It's not an ablative of means. It's not like no one will conquer the same part of Asia with 1 year. That doesn't make sense. So it's our new ablative of time when. it's in 1 year. You could say within too. Within actually sounds pretty good. No one will conquer. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I did that. All right, and now let's do this last bad one. So yeah, out of time win. It's a weird. It sounds weird, but that's what it's called. And in would work. Like at wouldn't work. At goes more with like time. At that time or something like that. Okay, Romani quatuor ex eis urbibus prima via iunxerunt. Let's see. So normally we would look at this and be like, oh, it's Romans, and that's the subject, and it's for Romans, right? Normally that would be the case, but actually, like if you look at the whole thing, you can see that that wouldn't work for a couple of weird, complicated reasons. For one thing, if we look ahead, the verb is joined. It's perfect tense of iungo iungera, but there is no direct object if not like quatuor. So quatuor has to be our direct object. But also, I think we're supposed to see that it's like more attracted to ex et eis urbibus than Romani, because this is a pattern. It showed up in, was that number two of the sons, where it's like a number and then the preposition ex, which will translate as of, and then an ablative. So yeah, I mean, that's just really tricky though. Now, numbers can function as any kind of noun. They can be a subject, a direct object, or whatever they need to be. In this case, it looks like quatuor is actually the direct object, and that's really complicated. But Romans joined like for, and it's not eis by itself would be them, but it's doing the same thing that ea on Amalia did, where it's actually going with urbibus. So it's Romans joined four of these or those cities. And I'll talk a little more about that in a second. And then we just, the sentence keeps being weird. We have prima via just floating there. I'm supposed to have a macron over the A in prima. But they are ablative. There's no preposition around. It's not a period of time. Via means road. So that must be ablative of means with the first road. And this is probably talking specifically about the Via Appia, the Appian Way, which is a road that ran all the way to the southern part of Italy. The bottom of the boot all the way. Is Italy a boot? It's like a really long boot, but it goes all the way towards France. And roads are a big deal. People forget that roads 2,000 years ago was like that was a very important component of having a successful civilization. All right, I'm going to stop the recording and tell you guys some exclusive info for the quiz as a reward for showing up to the Zoom. If this person wants to get bonus, let me know your name. But if you don't, if it's not a big deal to you, it's fine. But also, okay, good.